well, my question, I've been thinking about this for a while. It's like a lot of people live on this hamster wheel, sort of. So they work to buy stuff, and then they buy stuff, and then they go to sleep and do it all over again. But I guess when you live like that, there isn't a lot of awareness beyond just the basics of life. But in a sense, I feel that we live in a society that encourages that hamster wheel mentality. So if, assuming that we wanted to expand a little bit on our awareness, where would we start, do you think?
I think, I've been thinking about this even though I didn't know what your question was. I think there's three, you could pick a bunch of things, but I came up with three modes: being, doing, and having. And you have just described the having, okay? And I think what in modern society, modern capitalist society, the emphasis as time goes on, I've seen it just in my own lifetime, the emphasis is on having. And I see this in education because, a university education should be educating people in terms of being, in terms of character, in terms of who they are as a person. And then they can go out and do things in an ethical way. And then as a result of doing productive things, they'll get to have things. But now it seems, and again, I'm just throwing this out, it seems like everything's on the having, like you said, and everyone is, most people are neglecting the first two. So to answer your question, just in one sentence, I would say it would make a lot more sense to do long-term investment in being rather than having.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but a lot of people are on the hamster wheel just because they're trying to have a home, and they're trying to have a car, and they're trying to have, electricity, and they're trying to do all these things, not necessarily collecting up a bunch of stuff, but it's just the day-to-day hamster wheel of get up, go to work, do your thing, come home, have dinner, go to sleep, do the same thing again the next day, the same thing again the next day. So how do you actually still achieve even a basic level where things are getting increasingly more expensive and increasingly harder to have, even basics, and still then maintain some kind of sense of being, some kind of, taking time to smell the roses and contemplate what that means and stuff of this sort. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So being a student pretty much taught me that I can have stuff for cheaper, and I don't really need this or that actually.
Yeah.
So it's just, if you really want to get out of the hamster wheel, just let it go. Honestly, the best thing ever that happened to me was losing my job. Because if I don't lose my job, I don't try to be a better person. If I don't try to be a better person, I don't go to university. And I won't be that as happy as I am right now. So, it's...
Well, the thing about need created by the modern society is that the framework and the system that sets up that need was wrong in the first place. We didn't need these things. We didn't need a car. We didn't need a house. We could build our own house for our community. We could just spend time with each other and talk around the fire. But what it's given us is you need to find a job, and then before that you need to get a university degree. Before that you have to pass through your exams in school.
Yeah.
So that system set up for it is very demanding of us as human beings. Therefore, there's so little being. We're always trying to achieve something. It takes away ourselves from the actual just simple being. So the beginning, the origin of that problem is the system is wrong. So if you want to get away from that mindset of I need more and acquire more so that I can be happy, then you just need to simplify and just get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
Make space for being, make time for being. Then you can just simplify your own being rather than keep on stacking yourself with more things. There's more layers, more complications. So that's why, if you go to a forest, you feel better. Because there's just nature, there's nothing else. If you go just to a community where there's just tree houses and children playing, you feel better because that's just what you have, what you were designed to need is our community. We didn't need anything more. But, this is what we have, so we have to try to think outside of that.
So pretty much, do you think that if people declutter their lives, will they be able to be more?
Absolutely. I've known people who have decluttered their lives. I know someone now who is still trying to sell away 5 things per week so that he can feel lighter. And you do, because your physical environment is changing, and you feel more zen, emptier space. It's just like that. Same like in any museum installations where they put things in different places and you walk through them and you feel certain things because your environment, the physical material environment does influence you. And also like if you walk into someone's room that's really messy, you immediately can tell that person's life is really disorganized because they haven't even had the time to clean it up or tidy it up. So that physical manifestation shows what's inside here. So really decluttering really helps. Yeah, throw away stuff. Give it away to whoever needs it more than we do.
Can I dig deeper into this?
Go.
It's because, I look at this as like you said, the current system is not very good. But if you look at why the system is the way it is, it's because people wanted to do specialist things. In a world where we're all planting our own food and we're all growing our own food and we can build our own houses because we can actually go on a piece of land and do it, then that becomes possible to where we can live more like animals, where we're each responsible for our own survival. But now, like for example, I program computers. I don't farm. I don't plant anything. I don't like planting things because I don't really like going and working out in the dirt. I like working with computers. So because of that, now it's all become specialists. You do one thing, you do one thing, you do one thing, and then we have a system that allows us to trade and allows us to do all of this. But as I see it, the whole world's getting more complicated because you're getting more people and more specialization, and people are only able to do one little thing, and you have a whole bunch of people doing a bunch of one little things. That kind of robs humanity, as
Which
I see
makes
it.
us streamline workers. That's
Yeah.
how factories work.
Yeah.
If everybody
Yeah.
just keep on doing the same thing all the time,
Yeah.
you kind of lose your mind in that. So.
And you don't have a perspective of the whole.
Right.
Because we're all focused. And I apologize to all my students, but this is how we train our students, to work. Especially PhD students, it's always, narrow down your topic, narrow down your topic, narrow down your topic. And on the undergrad level, it's narrow down your topic for essays, narrow down, narrow down, narrow down. And then why should we be surprised that when people go out in the world, all they can see is through this little hole.
Why is the teaching that way? Why don't they say bring in more, make it wider, bigger perspective, add all these things in? What's the reason for it going to what you're saying?
Well, the university, like other organizations, is self-replicating.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have someone coming in with more than one skill set, let's say,
Right.
because they have, and you've encountered this in your own life,
Yeah.
and I've encountered it, and also, so if you go in with a slightly larger perspective, the people who are already in the university, they only see one box at a time. And if you come in with more than one box or a bigger box, they don't get it. And so then they're going to hire somebody else that they can understand. So I thought when I was on the job market that I would have a better chance of getting a job because I had learned all about South Asia,
Right.
Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and the Middle East, okay? Iran, Turkey, Turkish, Persian, Arabic. So I thought, well, everyone else is coming out with one. I'm coming out with this whole array. I should have no problem. Well, I had more problems because they would say, well, are you a South Asianist or are you, an Arabist? Or, they couldn't,
Pin you down.
So the reason why it is in the university is because it's self-replicating. And I know people who are applying to PhD programs, I'm advising them,
Yeah.
even now. And they are very well qualified in many areas. And it's the same problem. Well, which is this guy? Is he this, or this? No one ever thinks that it's a both and.
So is this because the people that are in leadership typically don't want to hire people that are better than them, so they always hire people that know less? okay?
Well,
and that then these people come up and they know less than the previous generation.
Easier
Well,
to control.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, in
Yeah.
a company environment, I think that's true.
But even in medicine, for example, integrative medicine, you know, you have, they specialize, you get the doctor of the elbow. You know, he's the elbow doctor, right? I mean,
Because they don't know anything else better.
yeah.
That's the thing, the society is losing that holistic feeling. We used to be holistic. We used to get things from each other like we still do now, but there's always this intermediate layer of money. We need to acquire money in order to get something, whereas before we could just exchange something, the bartering system. So there's just a bit more complication than necessary.
I wonder if it's also because the society doesn't respect the older people who have a bigger perspective because they've lived longer and they've seen more, they can integrate more, but those aren't the people that they don't say, oh, the elders, let's put them in charge, you know? No, there's old people out to pasture,
Yeah.
bring in the young people too.
Dismiss them straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, this modern society has a lack of appreciation of wisdom from previous
You
days.
got it.
And wisdom comes from
Before.
from being able to see things.
That's right.
It's the whole thing. And if we want to boil this, if we want to go one step further, if I can ask permission like Ken did, you know, what is it what kinds of activities bring about wisdom? What kinds of activities bring about, you know, a larger perspective? And there are many. I mean, and I say this, you know, Ken is a good example because he's gone through a totally different educational, you know, stream than I have, and he's able to see a big picture, or larger picture, all right? And I'm able to see a larger picture, and actually, all of you, and you've all come through different streams. So what is it about the people who, you know, who have that larger perspective? And I think it was something we were talking about when we were sitting at the table before, curiosity. You know, we're not, I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but people who are curious are not satisfied with the status quo. And if you're curious, you don't make, oh, there's a boundary. No, I'm not curious about anything on that side of the line.
No, it's actually the things on the other side become more
Of course,
intensely.
exactly, right,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
So why is it that not as many people are very curious? Why don't they care?
That was going to be my question for today, is that
I'm
why don't
sorry.
people wonder? No, that's it.
So we're moving on?
We're segueing into it,
Yeah,
That's
is
great.
that why don't we wonder as much as we should?
Yeah.
Marvel, like that's a great word for it. It's just that
Yeah.
jobs, routines, it's bearing us down. We have so much to get, and we have so much to pursue, and we have so much to acquire, so that we're losing sight of that curiosity of that flower is beautiful, smell that puppy is amazing, let's go climb a tree, you know, things like that. Simple things, we're just losing all of it.
There's a whole aspect to science, for example, where so many people are calling themselves scientists, but they seem to have forgotten the scientific method. Because the true scientific method, you should always be trying to falsify every theory. Every theory needs to be under perpetual questioning. Because as soon as you say we found the answer and you've proven it true, first you can never prove anything true because you don't know what you don't know, and you can always discover something new that falsifies that thing, right? And so that's the curiosity, and it doesn't seem to be there. It seems like everybody's satisfied because it's money driven, it's agenda driven. They have an agenda they want to prove that's for some other reason other than curiosity, other than let's just discover, okay,
Agenda.
what's out there.
You don't get grants on
No.
the basis of curiosity.
No, which is really a shame. That's a huge shame, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It actually seems to me that we're actively trained to not be curious, and we're chastised when
Yeah.
we're curious outside of the bounds of whatever we're learning, or the comfort bounds of our family, let's say.
Starts with the terrible twos. As soon as some kid goes to want to put it in his mouth, you want to take it away. You should say, yeah, taste it. You know, feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was little, my mom had this kind of burner thing that you had to put coal in, and it's hot. So as a kid, my mom just know that I'm gonna touch it. So what she does is, come on, take my hand, just put my finger right on it really close, and I could feel the heat. And kind of allowing that curiosity to be satisfied, and then you kind of be aware of what it is. And that kind of knowing actually embeds even deeper in our mind, whereas we don't get given the opportunity. Like I was watching a news the other day on Facebook, and I was saying how good the Japanese schools are allowing children to do their own cleaning for their classroom. And I'm like, yeah, we did that in China too, but come on, what if the child doesn't want to do the cleaning? Or are you just trying to train them to be better workers together to keep our own classroom clean, so that in the future they can be better, more disciplined workers for in the office or something like that? So whatever training we're getting now just takes away our ability to rebel, takes away our ability to challenge, like almost glorifies that the children are doing something together for the classroom. The children are doing something as order. It's just the framework is a bit quieting the mind, do what you're told.
Training. That's the key word that I got that you said. Training instead of education. And education is all about curiosity.
You know what movie typifies this so well is Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Beautiful.
Wasn't that a great movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so wonder, please wonder.
Yeah.
It's interesting because on the other hand, we have a lot of children. We need to educate them. I think perhaps if we had more or less students per teacher, for example, maybe they could give way more to curiosity.
Yeah.
But then it's not feasible on a larger scale, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't cater to every child's curiosity, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing, population.
There's a new thing going around now called design thinking. Has anyone heard of that? It's I met a woman who started a company about it called the School of Design Thinking, and what they're doing is they're teaching kids about this. And what it is instead of teaching them that there's a right answer to a problem, instead you give problems that there's no exact right answer, and you analyze the problem thoroughly, and then you come up with brainstorming all these different ways to solve that problem. And then you compare all the ways and pick the one that's the best based on criteria.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And that's essentially how design thinking works. And just by doing that, I think if we could spread that, that would be huge.
So philosophy at school.
Yeah.
I totally agree, but if we want to expand the context a little bit more, the schools are where the citizenry gets trained, all right, okay, to be cogs in the economic machine and not to question the political order. This is how democracies end up being, pretty fairly authoritarian, because you don't have a thinking populace. You have a dumbed down populace that will go along with whatever the main program is, and they learn how to do that in school. So I can't imagine a state education system that's going to shift into curiosity mode, because you can set it up for large numbers of people to learn to be curious. I don't think it's necessarily a function of, small classes. I mean, that's probably ideal. But the problem is that, this is a threat to the larger system. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how that's going to change.
Well, it needs to. I tell you why.
Oh, I don't.
Well, let me give you a good reason why.
I don't
I'll give you a good reason why. Because of automation. See, automation is going to replace all of the lowly jobs. Okay?
Well, it already has.
But it's going to do it even more so. You're not going to see people working at McDonald's. It's going to be all automated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay? So the only jobs that are going to be left are the ones that require thinking, that actually require humans to evolve upward. So whoever the leaders are, they need to get on with the program and realize that they're actually setting themselves up for a catch-22 situation that's going to be really detrimental.
Gonna run short of.
Yeah, they're going to run short of thinking people. It's like that. What's that movie we saw with all those?
Dumb people.
Yeah, all those
Idiocracy,
Yeah,
my
Idiocracy.
favorite. Yeah, it's pretty much
Idiocracy.
heading into that.
Yeah.